Yes, yes, yes. What is up? What is up, MCR family? Another weekly edition of the show live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Should be a fun show and a long show today, I feel like, because we have all the fights to get through from the last weekend, which was a lot. I mean, we had 3 big fight cards, I feel like, and all 3 of them deserve some attention. And plus, we have all the fights this weekend I want to get to and discuss, because I don't know if I'm going to get to another show this week, unfortunately. So just a jam-packed show. Plus, Boxing Hall of Fame got announced for this year. So obviously we're going to dive into that. Some notable, I would say, what's the term? Like they don't get picked.
Snubs?
Yeah, notable snubs. There's 2 notable snubs we can talk about and have like an honest discussion about should they have gotten in before this person or that person. But digressing, a lot to get to on today's show. I'm Matthew Hunter. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I'm joined by the one and only Gary in Dallas. Gary, how are you?
It's good to be back. I don't remember the last time I was on. It's been a while. I guess last week.
It's Thursday, I think. Right? Didn't we do a show Thursday?
No, Thursday you did. I had a seizure on Thursday and I was out.
No, then you jumped on. Oh, here's
I jumped on and we did the Texas secession.
Yeah, I totally forgot about. Hey, we should plug them too. Hey, on the last show I did for Trending Now Network, Gary just like all of a sudden jumped on and we talked about and debated the idea of Texas seceding from the United States and like what that would do. Actually, really fun discussion. So I definitely recommend everyone to go check it out.
It was, and I stand in favor of it.
Shocker.
Like I don't. People like support bill, but I don't even know what the bill is because it hasn't been introduced yet. But it will be on the floor when the Texas state legislature convenes in January, and I'm gonna be all over that. I don't know if it'll ever pass, but it's got my vote. I'm gonna harass. I'm gonna call my representatives over and over again.
This is when I've now realized that Texas is like the U.S. is like Scotland.
Yeah. That's a good comparison.
Maybe not like a perfect one-to-one analogy, but I mean, it clearly is like you guys just never want to be a part of the country ever, and it's always been that way my entire life. Like you said, Gary, on the show, like every election we've heard about this. But digressing, we have a lot to get to in boxing. Anthony Joshua picked up a big win. Shakur Stevenson, Chris Colbert picked up big wins as well. Like I said, a lot to get to. Gary, let's get into, obviously, the marquee fight, the marquee event of this last week, and Anthony Joshua defeating Kubrat Pulev in the 9th round via KO. Your thoughts on the performance of Anthony Joshua, your thoughts on how well he looked, your thoughts on what's next for him as well. Obviously, I did the previous show and you weren't on, so I don't even know what your real thoughts were heading into it other than it was going to be boring, which I echoed. So your thoughts, obviously, a few days after the fight.
It was actually better than I thought, even though it was still boring, right? Like, it was never competitive. I thought Pulev would be a little bit more competitive. Not that he'd win rounds, but he wouldn't be totally outclassed round after round after round, which he was, right? After the first round, which nothing happened, I mean, AJ was in complete control. And I thought it was a good performance for AJ. I thought he did what he was supposed to do. And then he got rid of him. I'd like to see him get rid of him a little earlier, but he got the knockout. And he hit him with 3 uppercuts in a row. Pulev somehow got up. And he hit him. I would have stopped the fight right there. This is like, he didn't have to take that last shot. The fight was over when he hit him with those 3 uppercuts. He did get up, right? And it didn't look like he wanted to fight again, but there's no reason to let him fight after that. The fight's over. You've lost every round. You get 3 huge uppercuts. We're good. We're good. We don't need to let this go on. And then he hit him with that right, like send him flying across the ring like a cartoon character. But like, in my opinion, there's just no reason to let that go on at that point. Fight's over. It was a good performance. I thought AJ looked good. He boxed well, and then he got rid of him. I don't know like why he let him off the hook after it was the 3rd round.
Yep.
It looked like the fight was going to be over then. And then he went back to boxing. And I know Pulev, and I want to give Pulev some credit too, right? Like Pulev wasn't okay with just losing the battle of the jabs. He tried to get inside on him. He tried to impose his will on him. He tried to pick up the pace. He's just too old, not very good. So he couldn't do it, right? But he did try. You could tell this was a guy who was in his last chance at winning a world title, and he's not that good, so he couldn't get it done. But I mean, Pulev's not a world champion. Not in this era, right? Maybe 15 years ago, 12 years ago, maybe. But
No,
not
even then, no, because he lost to Klitschko. He lost to Klitschko. He was never that good.
When Klitschko vacates a belt, the next man up gets it, and the next man up back in that era was not good. But yeah.
I think that Anthony Joshua, like you said, had a good performance. There's not much you can criticize other than the fact that he let off the gas after the third round, where, I mean, to this day, I don't know how the ref just didn't call it right then and there when Pulev turned around and clearly just did not want to engage anymore. And then I, to this day, also don't know how Pulev was able to recover from that, other than the fact that Anthony Joshua just did not apply enough pressure in that fourth and fifth round that came after it. Again, the only criticism I can really have of AJ, I called it kind of exactly how it went down. I thought this was going to be a battle of the jabs where AJ won, and then that would allow him to throw his sort of secondary punch, whether that be the right straight, whether it be an uppercut, whatever it would be. And then he was going to be able to land on that and then maybe get him out late. And what did he do? Got him out late. This wasn't really much of an enlightening performance, or a performance where you come away with a new perception of AJ. I also don't think that's really what this fight was. It was a mandatory. We got it out of the way. Now, what's next for AJ seemingly is, depending who you ask. If you ask Eddie Hearn, if you ask AJ, it's Tyson Fury. If you ask Tyson Fury, if the big dosser AJ signs the contract that apparently is out there, though I doubt it, then the fight's on. And then we have Usyk demanding the fight. The WBO, in a sense, demanding the fight for Usyk as the mandatory for AJ. What do you think's next for Joshua?
It's not. And why would it be that easy? Never. This is boxing. It's never that easy, right? So if you want to have a fight for undisputed supremacy of the heavyweight division, I think they both have one more hurdle they need to jump. They are obligated to jump. I believe that while Joshua has to fight Usyk, that's his mandatory. He knew that was his mandatory for over a year now. He knew he had to fight Usyk. Okay, so go fight Usyk. And on the other end of that, you had a rematch clause. If you won that fight, you knew you had to fight Wilder. And I know that the time frame to exercise that rematch clause has expired, but there was a global pandemic that got in the way that stopped that fight from happening. Now, look, if you wanted to say that, look, I can't fight him right now because he's in a different part of the world and he can't come here and I can't go there, that's understandable. Now you're going to Saudi Arabia. If you go to Saudi Arabia to fight, you can fight Wilder, and you're obligated to fight Wilder. Okay, that was part of the contract that you signed. I understand the contract is up, but I think any fair court would say, wait a second. No. There was a rematch clause in there, which there was no point in that rematch clause from when they were supposed to fight in June or July on where you could have reasonably fought. So your next fight, if you're going anywhere besides the UK, is against Wilder. If you're traveling to some other continent, you're fighting Wilder, so long as he can travel there, right? Like, I don't see how any fair court would say otherwise. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But I believe that Wilder is going to get that shot at Fury, and then that means Usyk would get the shot at AJ. And Usyk wins that. So you didn't get Wilder AJ when that was hot, when that was the biggest fight in boxing. Now you're not going to get Fury AJ when that's the biggest fight in boxing because Usyk's going to step in the way.
That's not going to happen though. It's all right.
That's absolutely going to happen.
Gary, what do we need to bet on this? Like, do we need to do like a hair bet?
I'm not. I mean, yeah. If you want to
loser shaves their head.
I don't know if I can do that.
No, that's too much there.
Yeah, I can do something like if you want to make a donation, or if you want to do like a steak dinner or something. I don't really live near you. I can do something like that. But I'm not gonna like bet $20.
PayPal the other for a steak dinner or something like that.
I think that's reasonable. I
like that. Okay, gentleman's agreement then. Okay.
The fight has to happen first.
Yeah. And the fight has to happen next. Let's say that. Like, that's the next fight for both AJ and Usyk, respectively.
But isn't that the better option? And this is not a better option. You have two options. Wilder fights nobody, and Usyk fights Joyce or Parker, and then Fury and AJ fight each other for a non-undisputed heavyweight title. Or you get like that kind of bracket that you get Usyk and AJ on one side, and Wilder and Fury 3 on the other side, and the winners fight each other.
Just do that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
But I think
you're so unpopular. Thankfully somebody agreed with me.
I think that most people, maybe not you, Gary, but let's just say most people think that Fury wins against Wilder in the trilogy fight and that AJ beats Usyk in their fight. Most people think that, right? So on the way to getting the fight we want, we get a in-between fight that's also legacy building. Absolutely, I'm okay with that. Yeah. And I don't even need like an explicit like tournament because it doesn't need to be in that sense.
Right.
Because it's in there. It's implicit, right?
Right.
And regardless, like I said, we get 2 fights, or in that sense, 3 fights that are all amazing, that are all jockeying for position of who is the best heavyweight of this era. And we actually need those matchups too. Like, let's say we just had Fury AJ right now. We still need the winner of that fight fighting Usyk and or Wilder in the next 12 to 18 months. Like, that's what we would want. We want some more finality with the top of the heavyweight division. Add Andy Ruiz in the mix. Like, add certain people that we also want in this mix. Absolutely. So I'm all in favor of these machinations we get towards who is the best. As long as they're also great fights, then I'm fine with it. It's when these guys fight subpar competition on the way to these, the fight that we want, right? That's the issue. When they start fighting certain mandatories or certain voluntary defenses that we just clearly do not want or need, then yes, that's an issue. But we need these fights still. It's just an issue of like the order of when we need them, and that's up for personal opinion.
What do you think is going to happen?
I think we get Joshua Usyk and we get Wilder Fury. I mean, we have Sky Sports on a telecast for the AJ workout before the fight, right? Both was it Adam Smith, right? What's his name? No, is his name Adam Smith?
I think so. Yes.
Like, is that just The Economist? I'm doing way too much reading lately. And then Johnny Nelson said that the Wilder Fury trilogy fight was imminent. So if that's imminent, I'm assuming we get Joshua Usyk as well. Because why not? That's a mandatory. It's an in-house fight. It's relatively a big fight, too, because Usyk is relatively a draw in the UK market. Like, that's a big pay-per-view in the UK.
It's a big fight. It's just not Fury Joshua, right? Like, it's a big fight, but it's not the big fight.
Just like Fury Wilder is a big fight. Is it Fury AJ right now? No, but it's still a very big fight. It's still a fight we need in some sense. Absolutely. I think somebody else mentioned a Parker to add in this mix. Absolutely. Parker, Usyk, Ruiz. I think Liam was mentioning there's other names sort of in like this tournament we can imagine. Absolutely. I mean, get them in any sort of mix. It doesn't matter the mix. It doesn't matter the order for me. As long as we get these fights, I'm cool. And if it is Fury AJ next, awesome. I just don't think it happens next because Sky Sports said it's not next. That's why.
It matters. And again, I want that fight too. I want AJ Fury. I just, they both have other obligations they have to meet, right? And they both knew upon winning those belts that they had to meet those obligations. So AJ can give up his WBO title, and then it's not for, he can do that. He's well within his rights to do that, right? And then he has a fight with AJ, a fight with Fury, which is still a huge fight, but it's not for undisputed supremacy. So I don't think he wants to do that. So go fight Usyk. And I get it. The analogy I'm going to make is when the last games of their college career, Tim Tebow was supposed to play Colt McCoy in the national championship game, right? It was supposed to be Texas and Florida. Both teams were undefeated going into championship Saturday, right? Mm-hmm. And then Florida lost to Alabama, and that was the beginning of the Alabama legacy, right? So Alabama goes in, and then Texas plays the night game against Nebraska in the Big 12 the Big 12 title game, and they're about to lose. And Colt McCoy scrambles around, throws the ball out of bounds. Clearly, 0 seconds left, and Nebraska wins. So timeout. They put 1 second back on the clock so Texas can kick the game-winning field goal, right? And you got Texas and Alabama, which was a good game. It's just not the game everybody wanted. Everybody wanted Colt McCoy versus Tim Tebow in the last games of their career. What I'm saying is, look, I understand that you want Fury versus AJ right this second, but you're probably not going to get that. But you're going to get good fights. You're going to get good fights as a result, really good fights. And you may be surprised with the winner, just like when Alabama beat Texas. You get surprised with the winner.
You get great fights. It's not even just good fights. Like legitimately great fights. Like, again, legacy adding fights as well. These aren't just no name matchups. And if we get AJ Fury next and we get these other matchups instead, absolutely. Liam Roscoe, you two are always working against undisputed fights. I don't think you understand what I'm saying here.
We all want the fight to happen.
I mean, I don't know how many times I need to say, yes, I would love AJ Fury next. I just don't think it happens next. And the other fights we get are still awesome. I don't know where, like, am I wrong in that, Liam? Because I'll be honest, I might open up Skype for today. Because there's a few in the chat.
That's chippy today.
Oh man, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I'm in a little bit of a mood, right? If you really want to have an argument, then let's have an argument. Because I'm all for it, Liam. That if you want to get in here and you constantly want to debate me or Gary, I love that. But actually debate us on what we say. Because to say that we are always working against undisputed fights is just like that's being dishonest. To be honest, like that's just like you're not being a honest person in this discussion, Liam. And I don't like that. So actually debate us on what we say, not what you interpret us to say or what you want us to say.
So when Usyk beats AJ and Fury, he would be the first undisputed heavyweight champion in the 4-belt era. Would he be the first undisputed champion in the 4-belt era in 2 weight classes?
Wait. Just repeat what you said the very first time.
When Usyk clears this out, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he beats Fury, AJ, and then Fury, he would be the first undisputed heavyweight champ in the 4-belt era.
That's not true.
That's not true.
Crawford.
No, heavyweight champ.
Oh, you didn't say heavyweight.
The first undisputed heavyweight. No, well, Usyk was the undisputed cruiserweight champ, and heavyweight champ, undisputed heavyweight champ in the 4-belt era. Would he be the first person to be first undisputed champion in 2 weight classes
in this era? Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. Santiago.
Yeah, I'm looking at you.
I have opened up Skype, guys. Yes, the Kraken's been unleashed. So
did you
mixed comment radio if you want to call in.
Did you ever watch the movie Moneyball with Brad Pitt?
Yes, that was like a Academy Award winner.
Yeah. What is like why do you want Hatterberg? He gets on base. Right? Don't make me point to Petey because Petey always says he gets on base. That's how I feel with Santiago. Don't make me ask Santiago. Santiago has the answer. Santiago, there's no other 2 weight division undisputed champ in the 4-belt era, right? That doesn't exist. Usyk would be the first.
Hold on. I love this. William Phillips. Eddie said they're willing to drop the WBO title for Joshua versus Fury.
I mean, you could do that, but why would then you don't have, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's still a huge fight, and I get all that. But why would you do that? Because you can't beat Usyk, that's why. PSK.
It's so sad because this is real. PSK saying no, Gary, because he needs the WBC Bridgerweight to be truly undisputed. Facts, PSK. Oh man, that was good. Moving on from AJ, unless you have any other thoughts about the King.
No, that's it.
Santiago saying, yeah, if Usyk were to become undisputed heavyweight champion, he'd be the first since Evander Holyfield. Liam ducking the work, saying would love to come on and chat with you guys, but I'm working. Sorry. Damn it, Liam. Damn it. I want to smoke today. God damn it. Anyways, moving on. Let's go to the undercard. Do we have to? I'll say this. The Martin Bakoli Kuzman fight was fun. Kind of like what I predicted. You know, like a top 20-ish heavyweight fight. That was just going to be a fun heavyweight fight. Yeah. That was good for them. Even the Harry Fury fight versus Maurice Walk wasn't as bad as it could be with those 2 names involved. Anything else on the card? Not.
Well, your boy, Akoli.
Stop.
I thought he looked good. I thought Yuri Fury and Okoli both looked good, better than I expected. Because I thought Yuri Fury was going to be good on his way up. Like I thought he beat Parker. I thought he was going to be really good, and then he lost a bunch of fights and looked like trash. I thought he looked good again. Like, I know it's Wok, so it's not a world beater, but it's an opponent, right? I thought Fury looked good. I thought Okoli looked the best he's ever looked in his whole life. Not saying that he looked like the king of the world. Not saying he could beat the best cruiserweights in the world, because I think the cruiserweights are really good. But I thought Okoli had the best performance. He looked less spastic than he's ever looked before. Does that make sense? Like, you know how he looks really uncomfortable in his own skin, like he doesn't really know what he's doing? Like when somebody grows 8 inches in 8th grade and like they can't really walk and move.
Did that change?
I thought so. Like you can still see that, but it didn't look as pronounced as it usually does. Does that make sense?
I think it just didn't look pronounced because the other guy looked even more like fucking Bambi. Right? Like, I mean, come on here. Like, the other guy, even though he was undefeated, he's fought no one of note except for Michael Zizalek, who was in the no contest back like 4 years ago. And Zizalek has gone on to beat like Dualda and like lost to Makabu and people like that. But no, like I'm sorry. This is a guy that like has beat people that are like 9-2. Like 20-12, and he's only fought in fucking Poland.
We're gonna get to a Polish fighter later who I think has a real good chance.
Who am I forgetting that fought this weekend?
The week coming up.
Oh, I just no. I wanted to see Okoli versus Glocki because that is a legitimate fight. This was not a legitimate fight, so I don't care.
No, it wasn't. But I thought Okoli looked good, better. And I know his opponent wasn't good, so it's not a great yardstick, right? It's not a great measuring stick. But I thought he looked the best I've seen him look. I'll just say that. Whether that's good or not is irrelevant. It's the best I've seen him look. He looked at least less. That guy wasn't Olympian.
The guy he fought?
No, Okoli.
Okay. Yes, he was.
How the heck did he make the Olympic team? That's a down year for the Olympic team.
Hey, it's the cruiserweight division too, man.
That's true.
It's not the greatest division. Any other thoughts on the AJ card?
No.
Let's get to the Shakur fight, which pulled in like 1.5 million viewers on ESPN as an average, though that was obviously due to the massive lead-in from the LSU game. So not surprising, but shout out to them for still holding a decent average. I mean, 1.5 million viewers average is still pretty decent for Shakur Stevenson, who's not a name that is really established. Let's put it that way. He's a name that got some buzz because of the Olympics, got some buzz because of who he's been affiliated with, but he's not an established name in the sport yet. But again, got good viewership. He looked dominant in this fight. I mean, we're going to talk about him and Colbert, obviously, in a second as well.
Colbert dog walks him.
Regardless of that for a second, okay? Aren't they like the best prospects we have in the United States right now?
I think you're forgetting one.
I'm not mentioning Virgil Ortiz. One, because I think he's a little more established in his division than these guys. That's not true. I wanted to give you one. No, you're probably right. I'll add Ortiz to the mix because you're right. Ortiz is a great prospect. But
yeah, I would say these are the next two best ones in the States. For sure.
They're
good.
Everything they do is amazing. Like I struck like sometimes they're not the most exciting fighter, of course. But their ability to just walk down opponents, not take damage, unload when they want, and just like own the ring, if that makes sense. Like just be in complete control. It's hard. Like it's hard to mention another prospect that does it better than these guys right now. When we mention like the Devin Haney's of the world or the Ron Garcias, and I think they get a lot of obvious attention. Shakur Stevenson and Chris Colbert are the real deal. Like, to me, they're... You know this, Gary. I don't like stating that people are going to be champions when they really haven't proved it yet. And I'm discounting Shakur Stevenson's belt at 126 completely, in my opinion. I can say without a doubt that Shakur Stevenson and Chris Colbert will be champions in their career. Like, it's without a doubt. Like they might lose to Miguel Burchelt. Like that's possible, but they're going to be champions in their career, without a doubt. And I cannot wait to see them mature as fighters. Cannot wait to see them fight better competition. Obviously, especially Shakur Stevenson, because they do seem like they're the future in ways that other guys seem like they're just pretenders to that discussion. Gary?
No, I agree. They're both obviously going to be world champions. They're both going to be they both going to be multi-division world champions, right?
Yeah.
I think Chris Colbert. I already, for a guy who's 15-0, I already really like Chris Colbert's resume for a guy who's 15-0. Okay, I'm not saying he's got a Hall of Fame resume. He's only had 15 fights. Okay, for a guy who's what is Colbert 23, 22, right?
Yeah, like that.
He's got a really good resume. The guy he fought, I thought was good. I think that's a potential top 15, 10 to 15 guy. That was a good opponent he fought. He's got wins over Mercado. He's got wins over Miguel Beltran. He's got another win over Corrales. He's got Jezreel Corrales.
Mm-hmm.
He's got good wins. Those are good names he's beaten. He's got a better resume than Shakur Stevenson. And I'm not knocking Shakur Stevenson. I think Stevenson is excellent. He just hasn't beaten anyone that good yet.
He was the first to beat Austin Delay, too.
That's right. And Delay looks really good. I'm going to make a comparison to Verdejo later, right? Because Verdejo looks so good until he loses, right? Delay, like, I love his skills. And then he loses. And then he fought again, looked spectacular his last fight, and then he's going to step up and lose again. It's like, I don't really get Austin Delay. Like, he's so good. I don't understand why he keeps losing.
They're like Castaneda, man. Like, they're just good fighters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're beatable good fighters. And beatable good fighters are always going to be in really... Like, when they're fighting great competition, they're always going to shine even when they lose because they're good, durable fighters. And that's kind of the factor there. You said that you think Chris Colbert beats Shakur Stevenson right now.
I think Chris Colbert. That performance, I thought, he got a little bit like Pernell Whitaker, where he was dropping his hands and stuff. I don't like that. Don't do that. There's only one guy who can do that, okay? Don't do that. But I don't know. I think Colbert is phenomenal. He's got power. Shakur doesn't, right? So, like, he can walk Shakur Stevenson down, and he can knock Shakur Stevenson out, where Stevenson can't do those things. Stevenson's got to – now Stevenson in a position where over 12 rounds, he's got his box off his back foot and outbox Colbert. He may be able to do that for some rounds. That's not going to last the whole time because he's fighting another master boxer who's just as athletic, almost just as athletic as Shakur Stevenson, just as skilled, who's more powerful, a bigger puncher, etc. I think Chris Colbert right now is right because Virgil Ortiz doesn't have the speed, right, of Chris Colbert. I think Chris Colbert right now is for all the young fighters, right? We'll say anyone under the age of 24, 25.
Yeah, I like that distinction.
Is the most complete fighter in the game today. Who was it the other day that said he wasn't good? Didn't somebody on the last week's show say Chris Colbert wasn't good?
Remember we had an argument about him being a top 10 super featherweight?
Yeah.
He passes every test. He does. Like, the only person I would really hesitate to pick him to beat is Miguel Burchelt because of that style. Yeah. Like, maybe Burchelt can outdog him in that sense. And maybe Colbert's defense isn't enough because Burchelt's a great boxer as well. Like, he's a very underrated boxer, in my opinion. Everyone else at 130, minus Gervonta Davis, who I don't consider a 130-pounder, I pick Chris Colbert to beat. Even Leo Santa Cruz, even Jamal Herring, even Joseph Diaz. Like, mention anyone that's like a really top-notch super featherweight, I pick Chris Colbert to beat them. Which
I think Shakur Stevenson gets a belt first because I think Stevenson beats Herring too, and Stevenson's in line for that shot. He's the mandatory for Herring. So I think Colbert's better, but I think Shakur Stevenson gets to a belt first because he's got a clearer path there.
Yes, absolutely. Though I think I said this on the previous show when you weren't on, that Chris Colbert's one of those guys who he doesn't have enough name value where maybe Al Heyman sends him over to ESPN to fight a Burchelt Valdez winner. Like, I could see that happening, a la like Felix Diaz, for example. Yeah. Do you get that perception of him too, that he could be one of those guys that they could send over and it's not a big deal?
He just has to be confident that he's going to win, right? Like, if he's 100% confident he's going to win, then do it, right? Because otherwise, just have him like Santa Cruz. He can beat Santa Cruz. That's a good name to have underneath your belt. I know it's not for a title right now, but still a great name to have on your resume. Go beat him, right? If you're confident he can beat Michelle, send him over.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I would wait on the Leo Santa Cruz fight just because he's coming off the KO loss, and I think it would be better for Chris Cobra if he beat Leo coming off a win.
Agreed.
It just for obvious reasons. It's just for narrative reasons, for optics. Cheeto Fight in the chat saying Joey Spencer was a PBC Prospect of the Year twice over Chris Cobra. I will never get that. And plus, like Joey Spencer isn't even like the second best prospect in the PBC roster.
Omar Juarez.
I mean, you can even include like Erickson Lubin in this discussion still, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
just like I could name 20 names and not get to Joey Spencer. Like Joey Spencer. Who rigged this vote? Like Joey Spencer?
Is he like related to someone?
He's gotta be. I mean, he's gonna either have pictures of someone or he's married to someone. Joey Spencer. You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah. Anyways, Richardson Hitchens picked up a split decision win over Argenis Mendez, and this was a really good fight. And for one of those fights where not a fight of the year contender, but I enjoyed it, and I thought Hitchens showed enough where he is a like top 15-ish guy in the division, like clearly now. But I'm not going to pick him against the very top guys at this point in time. He's still a prospect in some sense, even though he's probably past that from a rankings perspective. But I thought he looked good. Like this was one of those performances where again, not a complete performance, but his defense showed up when he needed it. He was aggressive when he needed to be aggressive. He tried to control certain tactical battles within the fight that he needed to fight and needed to win. I thought Hitchens performed quite well. Gary, your thoughts?
No, I thought Hitchens won the fight. I felt they got it right. I thought like it was close, a good fight. You thought so or no?
Yeah, I didn't see the split decision.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't see that. I didn't see Mendez picking up 6 rounds. I did not see that.
Hitchens is good. I can never get it. Richardson Hitchinson. I can never ever get it right. It's like the Redskins. The Cowboys used to have a receiver named Austin Miles. Austin Miles. I could never get it right. Richardson Hitchens.
Yes.
He's good. I'm kind of with Matt. He's good. He's a top 15 guy. There's things he can improve on. He can get better, but right now he's good. I just don't know how good he is. I don't really where his ceiling is, but he's good. He's a top 15 guy. He'll be in the picture for years to come.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not going to speak on the Ronald Ellis fight versus Matt Korboff because Matt Korboff like broke his Achilles.
This guy's got no luck, huh?
Poor guy, man. Honestly, I feel bad for him.
Injury went against Eubank,
mm-hmm.
And now he's got this. I mean, this guy's got no luck, man.
Moving back to the top rank card, let's talk about Felix Verdejo versus Masayushi Nakatani. First off, this was a really fun fight.
Yeah,
arguably the fight of like the weekend. You can make that argument.
Did you watch my boy Bam?
Who?
108-pounder, Bam Rodriguez.
I'm trying to remember it.
It was on the undercard that you had to stream on Plus. It was junior flyweight, Josh Franco's little brother.
I had it on, but I had like 3 fight cards on at the same time
because he's that good.
I probably did miss it, to be honest. I'll go back and watch it just for you, Gary. And plus, I mean, he's a light flyweight guy, so I have to go back and watch it because he's like my weight class.
He is your weight class. He's so good. He is so good. Virgil Ortiz and Robert Garcia both said he's the best guy in the camp.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He's in a division to where like he can really excel if he wants and move up and excel, like it's possible. But Verdejo, let's talk about Verdejo being a complete failed project if we can. He was looking good in the first 4 or 5 rounds, let's say.
I thought he was looking really good. Nakatani was in the fight. Nakatani was landing his shots. But I thought Verdejo was clearly in control. I thought Verdejo, I'm like, okay, because I like Nakatani. I like Nakatani when he fought Teofimo. I said, this guy's pretty good. This guy's good. I'm not saying he's going to be a world champion, but he's pretty good. He's a good fighter.
and then Fedor just got beat up in that 9th round and we finished.
Nakatan did with a broken orbital bone too, by the way.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a warrior right there.
Like we're done with like the Verdejo experiment, right? Like if you're top rank, you're done with this experiment, right?
Not division. Oh, it just takes one good win, and then he's back in the money division. You get him a fight with Teofimo Lopez or Lomba or one of the. No, I'm telling you, you have not. And he's not. He's 27. Like you think he's 100? He's 27. He'll be back. You will see Verdejo in a meaningful fight again within 2 years. I promise you, he'll be back. You'll see his name again. He will headline a card either as the A-side or he will be in the main event of a meaningful fight in the next 2 to 3 years.
What do you think is his most notable win?
I don't even know off the top of my head. Has he beaten anybody?
Brian Vasquez?
He hasn't beaten anybody. I mean, he had a car accident. He was out for a while. I'm not beating him up or anything. I'm just saying, who's his best win? I would have to look it up.
Hey, you can't beat him up more than a car crash. So, yeah, of course.
Do you ever beat like a Jason Velez or anything like that?
No.
Nothing like that?
I'm telling you, like, Brian Vasquez is the best name. I think Teofimo. I think Verdejo will never get to Teofimo Lopez. To be quite honest, I think he'll always lose these types of fights, like the gatekeeper fights, the top 10.
Yeah,
he will never win that fight. I can totally see Top Rank just washing their hands of him and moving on, and Verdejo being picked up by Golden Boy.
Oh, he was going to carry the torch for Cotto. He was the next Puerto Rican superstar, right?
Like it happens. Shit happens, man.
He did not carry that torch.
He tried. He just failed tremendously.
Manny Rodriguez was going to be the one that carried it, and then, yeah.
The sad part is, like, even in his wins, he hasn't really looked like that great. Like, this was, like, honestly, like, he was on his way to looking the best in his career until he lost.
Yeah.
On Saturday. It was so sad. I felt kind of bad for him. Who I don't feel bad for is Edgar Berlanga, because clearly the dude is just being set up now to collect first-round knockouts, right? Like, it's...
I've been saying this for a while. Look, obviously the power is real. I get it. We all get it at this point. The power is real. That he fought a guy who wasn't going to offer much resistance and it was going to land. Look, the power is real. It's like Joe Smith Jr. If he cracks you, you can knock it out. If you put him in the ring with bad guys, he's going to get rid of him early. How good is he, though? I don't know. Like, I don't feel like we're getting any closer to finding out. I'm not saying he's not a good prospect. I'm saying we don't know how much he's progressed in the year we've been watching him now, the year and a half, or whatever, 2 years we've been watching him. We haven't seen it if he's progressed at all. I mean, unless you think he's going to knock everyone out in the first round, which of course you don't actually think that, then we don't know how he's progressed. And I've been saying this for a while, is do you want to have him set a record for first round knockouts? Or do you want to build him into a world champion? Because right now, I feel like you're going to have to do one or the other. Because right now, I think you're wasting him and not developing him. It's like when someone's in a home run contest. What happens when they win a home run contest? They come out of the All-Star break the next week, they're hitting 160 because they're so used to trying to crank the ball out of the park that their swing is gone. I think that's what you're doing to him. Unless you think he's going to knock out every single super middleweight. You think he's going to knock out Canelo and Benavidez, and you're going to knock out all these guys in the first round, which of course you don't think that, then this is doing him no service.
Yeah, and there's like names you could throw him in there with that aren't the greatest names, like Ivan Heatroff. Remember him when he fought like Emmanuel Alim like all those years ago? Like they're
not to get a first round knockout. Put him in the ring with Saki Obika. He ain't knocking Saki Obika out in the first round. Is that guy still around? That guy was tough as hell. He ain't going no place.
I don't see him. He must have retired. I hope he did. Like Alexis Angulo, like Romero, Alexis Angulo. You could pick him up.
There you go.
You know, you can pick up certain guys. Caleb Truax, what he's doing. Come on.
He's not going out in the first round. Like, there are guys you can test him against, but they don't want to do it. They want him to get all these first round knockouts. And I get it. They got a good rating. Right? Like, if I'm watching the LSU game, LSU fought a great game. It didn't go to overtime. They missed the field goal to put it in overtime. Did you see that game?
No, Gary.
Florida gets the stop. They can win the game, right? They got to run the clock out. And on the play that they stopped at this line of scrimmage, the guy on LSU's cleat comes off. The DN who blew the play up takes it in celebration, throws it up, 15-yard penalty, keeps the drive going for LSU. They come down, kick a field goal, win the game.
Have him fight what's his name? Mama's boy, Dennis Duglin.
There you go. I mean, these are names. These are names.
Yeah.
Dennis Duglin arguably beat
Duglin.
Anthony Durrell.
Yeah, he did. That's right.
I'll find it off the internet. Try to find it.
Jay Leon Love, like
these are names. They're guys. They're real opponents
that aren't good, really. But you can at least get a barometer of how good Belonga is, because I have no idea what this guy does. We're basically in the chat saying he's still doing 8-rounders. Yeah, the guy's now 16-0 with all 16 fights being first round knockouts, and relatively a weak division. Super middleweight's not a stacked division, and he's doing 8-rounders still.
Get him a Porky Medina. Is he still around?
I was looking for him, to be honest. I didn't see him. Von Alexander. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, there you go. Devon Alexander's not getting knocked down in the first round.
No. Anyways, Fabricio Ramirez picked up a win as well. Clay Collard lost after he's been on a winning streak. And that's it for people that I know. Gary, any other thoughts on...
Bam Rodriguez fought and looked spectacular. So he's fought now twice on Top Rank. And he's got a first and a second round knockout. And I know a lot of... we don't make a big deal about the 105, 108, 112 pounders. This kid is something else, man. This kid is so good. He is so good. He signed, and Matt, you probably know because you follow the small way. The Japanese promotion, Taken. He signed with them when he was 16, and I guess they have a relationship with Top Rank, which he fights on Top Rank cards here. But he signed with Taken when he was 16. I mean, this kid is something else. Like, if you haven't got a chance, it's Josh Franco's little brother, Jesse Bam Rodriguez. And again, he's not going to get notoriety because he is so small, but he can carry this weight class to whatever degree that is in America. Like, he's that good. And he knocks everyone out. His footwork is the best you've seen. Like, this guy is that good.
He's talented. And this was not a big step up. I shouldn't say that. But, Saul Juarez is a veteran in the sport with a lot of losses, but he's a veteran in the sport. So this was a decent step up, at least a notable name value for Jesse Rodriguez. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited to go check out the fight, at least, because I want to say I did. I remember seeing at least a little bit of it, but I don't remember seeing the knockout. So I must have been watching it.
Fought on the Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder 1 undercard. He fought on Spence versus Mikey Garcia undercard. He's been on a bunch of undercards before. Anything where you'd have Robert Garcia at, a lot of times he's been on those undercards.
Mm-hmm.
Then he fought in the bubble earlier when he got the first round knockout, and then he fought again. Like, he's been, if you're paying attention to the smaller guys, I know a lot of you don't. I'm not hating on anyone, but you've seen him. He's special.
All right, now let's move on to this upcoming weekend's fight. So let's start with the marquee event of the weekend, which is Canelo Alvarez versus Callum Smith on DAZN. But first, let's start with this information that came out today. All right, came out today regarding the distribution of this fight. And Gary, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't DAZN have a big marketing, national marketing gimmick about how they're the death of pay-per-view?
Yep. I mean, this is a little different. If you read the whole article, you get it for 5 months or something like that.
Hold on, Gary. Hold on. Canelo Smith. DAZN partners with cable companies offering fight on pay-per-view. DAZN sub for $70. But Gary, I thought it was the death of pay-per-view. What? Did they lie to me?
I believe you've been had, Matt. I believe they lied to you.
No. God damn it. Well, thank you, DAZN. How dare you? What it is, let me go to the actual paragraph and actually read this information out, because it's better if I do instead of trying to repeat it myself. Boxing has confirmed that the card headlined by Canelo Alvarez, Callum Smith, super middleweight title fight Saturday night at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio we made available via pay-per-view as well as through DAZN. If consumers purchase the Alvarez-Smith show through traditional cable operators, they can watch 5 fights on the Alvarez-Smith card on their televisions and receive a 4-month subscription to DAZN for a suggested retail price of $69.99. Now, I do wonder if that is the standard definition versus HD. They don't they don't mention a difference in price. But I do wonder if there is a difference in price between standard definition and HD. Just curious about that, but it's not a big deal. But yes, that's what we're gonna get. So if you have a DirecTV, a Dish Network, a Spectrum, like what other cable providers are there nowadays?
I mean, I think you hit all the big ones, right?
Right, the biggies. Fios. You can now buy the fight through your cable box or cable subscription, and you get a special sort of code, which you can then go log on to DAZN and access for 4 months. Gary, your thoughts on something that I told DAZN to do 2 years ago?
It's I would say it's creative, but you told them to do it years ago, so I guess it's not that creative. But it's yeah, they owe you a fee there.
Yes, they do. I get a cut of this pay-per-view.
I don't know how many people are going to buy it that way, but I mean, it can't hurt, right? Like it'd only be good for that.
Look, for all the older boxing heads that don't have DAZN, like think about like your parents, right? Like if you're listening to your parents that like boxing, but DAZN is something that like they are not going to be able to operate. They're now on their TV guide, flipping channels and getting ads on their TV guide for this pay-per-view. It's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I wouldn't be surprised. And look, I don't know, because it doesn't really specify this. I'm not surprised that it doesn't specify this. I wonder if this was a demand by Canelo. I wonder how much of this is the fact that it's Canelo coming back to DAZN on this special one-fight deal, and that's why we got this option, or it's truly DAZN trying to innovate its product.
I think it's a way for Canelo to work with DAZN, right? And then you want to make your $35 million or whatever we guaranteed you initially. Here, go make it.
I think it's the former instead of the latter. I don't think this is a case of DAZN innovating. This is a case of Canelo strong-arming a company to get him more access to money. Is basically what it is, right? To more avenues to capitalize on his brand power. And I think it's going to be a massive success. Like, I wonder also like how we're going to hear about like the numbers for this. You know what I mean? Because there's going to be a pay-per-view buy rate for this that's completely unrelated to DAZN subscriptions. I'm just very curious about the reporting of the financials of this event.
I don't think they're going to report it like that. I think they're going to come up with some other metric to make you think it, right? Because it's not fair to say it did. Let's say there's 300,000 pay-per-view sales, but 600,000 people watched it on DAZN. So it's like, watched it on their regular, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way to fairly depict this number when there's that many ways to watch it, right? Like, I'm not buying the pay-per-view because I already have DAZN. I've already paid for it for the year.
You know for a fact, Gary, that we're going to get some sort of press release like a week after the fight that's like, Canelo Smith produced 2 million pay-per-view buys and new subscribers when like 1.5 million of that is just existing subscribers worldwide. It's going to be one of those figures that's sort of framed in a certain way. But regardless, again, I think this is a strong arm move by Canelo if I have to predict what it was that caused this. And I'm curious to see what other people do concerning this now, because now the option's open for DAZN to operate on the pay-per-view market on cable providers, right?
Right.
So the argument of, mention any fight before, Triple G and Charlo. Like, you can't make that fight because one's a subscription app and one's pay-per-view. No, now you can.
Yeah.
We just showed you how we can. So like the arguments for these cross-promotional, cross-network fights, I should say more accurately, are even going away now. And I'm glad to see that. You can't argue that these things are on different mediums and therefore you can't make these fights. Clearly, you can find these hybrid mediums of distribution for big events. It's not that hard. Gary, any other thoughts on the business and the whole pay-per-view side of this event?
No, I like them doing this. I think it makes sense. I I hope it works for him because it's a good option. You can either buy this or you can buy a year's subscription to DAZN. I mean, I like it.
Matthew D'Souza in the chat asking how well has the fight been advertised here. To be honest, not that much. I have not seen that much advertisement for it.
I've seen some commercials for it watching football. I have. Not a lot. Not like Fox would do, but I've seen some commercials. But it should start now. Well, it should have started yesterday during Monday Night Football if you really wanted to get the casual sports fan. And you can get the casual sports fan with Canelo, but you're right, I didn't see a bunch of commercials bombarded during Monday Night Football. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, that would be an expensive advertisement, right? That's an expensive advertising spot right there. So I don't know what they're, I don't know what they're. There's been some advertisement. It hasn't been like Fox would do, but there's been some.
Santiago saying he's seen some good advertisement for the fight, or a good level of advertisement for the fight. He's saying he had a friend ask him about a radio ad for the fight. That's good. I like when you hear radio ads for fights. That's always a good barometer, right? Like when you go listen to AM, FM radio, and you hear an actual radio ad for a fight coming up this weekend. That's a good sign of the amount of marketing dollars put into an event. To be quite honest, Kevin is disagreeing with Santiago, saying there's no buzz for this fight. Saying there's no buzz for a fight is different than advertisement for the fight.
Yeah.
Those are two different things. There's definitely not a huge amount of buzz for the fight, but it's not completely separate, but it is potentially mutually exclusive from the amount of marketing dollars it has received. Because there's tons of pop cultural events, movies, TV shows that have a bunch of marketing dollars in it, but no one cares about and goes away in a week. Think of big time movie bombs or TV shows that are duds. It happens often.
You old enough to remember Geely with Jennifer Lopez?
Is that how you pronounce that?
I think so. Geely, right? Yeah.
Okay, I know what you're referring to. Have I seen the movie? Fuck no. But I know exactly what you're referring to. That's Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, isn't it? Yeah. That's when they were together, right?
Maybe, probably. I mean, that time frame would make sense.
I have to assume. Shout out to J-Lo. She's still looking good.
Isn't that incredible? She's like 51 years old now. Isn't that amazing? She looks the same as she did when she was 28. She looks like the fly girl from In Living Color, which is around before Matt was born. She looks the same.
But back to Canelo Alvarez versus Callum Smith. How do you see the actual fight going down, Gary? Do you see it like I do if Canelo Alvarez is going to get on the inside of Callum Smith and get him out of there within 8 rounds?
I was going to say 9 or 10. I think it's good for a while. I think the first 4 or 5 rounds are pretty evenly boxed, where it's even, and Smith is doing well, but I think Canelo's breaking him down slowly and surely, and then by 6, 7, 8, he really starts to work his body, and then by the 9th or 10th, he gets him out. So I think it's good. I think Callum Smith does good work. I think the first half of the fight is competitive, and I think he's doing well. Like, he's holding his own as far as like the scorecards, but you can see who's the worst for wear. And then I think I'll say around 10, Canelo knocks him out.
If Callum Smith fought like a tall guy, I would have more faith in this fight being competitive.
Yeah, but Kovalev fought like a tall guy.
But that fight almost went the distance.
It did. That's true.
That went rounds, and to be honest, that style of Kovalev is probably what allowed him to go that long. Because the second Canelo caught up to him and hit him with any combination, it was done. I think about like Daniel Jacobs. Daniel Jacobs had a lot of success on the outside using the jab, especially in the southpaw stance, sort of trying to separate himself from Canelo Alvarez and dictate the pace. Callum Smith is not that fighter. Like, I can't even remember like Callum Smith really like throwing the jab that much.
He's gonna have to throw. I get what you're saying. He's gonna have to throw a jab in this fight. He's gonna have to work up the jab. He has to before he's fighting. I
mean, have we ever seen Callum Smith ever really throw a jab?
I mean, he's got jab him to the body, right? Just stab him, like in the midsection, right? Just make him stop, right?
If Callum Smith jabs to the body, Canelo's going to step into that jab to the body and whack him with a left hook or a right hand. I guarantee you. Okay, I remember vividly, and this has always changed my perception of the body jab in some ways. Because I used to think it was a really effective shot to set up stuff or to disrupt your opponent. I've changed on that a little bit. When Sean Porter showed me and his dad showed me in their gym how easy you can just step into a body jab because it's not going to hurt you and just hit someone really hard. Because if they're engaged with you with a body jab, they're now exposed on their left side to your right hand. And they're now in your range because they're now hitting you. All you have to do is step in and crack them, and you can stop that body jab nonsense. So I think the second Callum Smith tries to get a little bit fancy in there with the body jab, Canelo Alvarez is going to step into it and whack him upside the head with the right hand. Like the only way Callum Smith has of success is a jab up top, because that does disrupt rhythm a lot more than body jab and can affect an opponent a lot more than a body jab. And just fight like a tall guy. Right hands down the pipe. Lead left hooks. You know, whenever he gets close, tie him up. Don't engage on the inside. But it's Callum it's a Smith brother. That's all they do is phone booth boxing. So he's going to be on the inside. He's going to try to body punch and go blow to blow with Canelo Alvarez. And it's going to be bad. It's going to be very nasty. Like, this might be one of those fights where Canelo looks sensational in a way we did not expect, because this is such a bad style matchup for Callum Smith. Anyone else in the division will have a easier time with Canelo than Callum Smith. Am I wrong? Like Billy Joe Saunders,
Callum Smith. Yes, I think you're still understanding how good Smith is, but yes, I agree. Stylistically, this is the best matchup for Canelo. I still don't think it's like an easy fight for him. Callum Smith is still a top level pro. Like, it's not an easy fight. I agree with you. Canelo knocks him out, but I think Callum Smith is going to have a little bit more success than you're giving him credit for. Not so much. Well,
I mean, look, here's the deal, okay? Callum Smith, I don't think is the heaviest hitter in the world, to be quite honest. So, like, the way he would have to make this competitive is if his power could affect Canelo in any way. I just do not believe that. There's nothing in Callum Smith's career that makes me go, he is the more powerful guy or the stronger guy than Canelo, or even comparable to Canelo. I should probably put it that way instead of just better, because no one's saying that he is better, but comparable, he is not. I mean, you have like Nicky Holskin, who's a kickboxer from Glory, that arguably almost beat Callum Smith. John Ryder, a guy that's Canelo's height and fights a lot like Canelo in terms of style, though obviously in the not the good version. He went the distance with Callum Smith. The guys that notably didn't make it the distance was like Luke Blackledge, who famously had to retire from the sport because of brain bleeds. Okay. George Groves, who in all of his losses, I think, has been knocked out.
He got knocked out by Carl Frost in front of 80,000 at Wembley. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Wait, was it 80,000?
80,000 at Wembley.
He did that before AJ too.
Yeah.
Don't forget, people. Okay. Like Hassan Nadam, who's not a super middleweight, he knocked out. Like, okay, cool, man. Like, David Lemieux knocked that guy down like 12 times in a fight. Like, what does that mean? I don't know. Sorry. Like, Callum Smith is a good fighter. Okay. And due to the nature of the division, he might have the best resume of the bunch, especially, amongst 168-pound division exclusively. But that's in large part due to guys like Caleb Plant and Dave Benavidez being so young in their careers. Billy Joe Saunders being Billy Joe Saunders.
That's what I can say.
So, like, it fell to Callum Smith to be the best guy in the division. But that's about it. Canelo's going to... I want to predict this is going to be an early fight. Like, this might end, like, in the 4th or 5th round. Like, that's not out of the question here. Canelo is that much better than Callum Smith, not from just a pure boxing perspective, but in durability, in terms of strength, in terms of power. The only thing he's not better is in the height and reach department. But again, Smith doesn't use any of that for his advantage. If Smith wins one round, if he wins 1 second of this fight, I'll be surprised.
Oh, he'll win a round. He's a good fighter. He knocked Rocky Fielding out quicker than Canelo did.
But Rocky Fielding's been finishing all of his losses.
He's only I don't even know. I'm not gonna act like I'm an expert in the career of Rocky Fielding.
He might only have 2 losses.
Yeah.
He's only had 2 fights of note. Because can you name another fight of his?
No.
No. Okay. PSK saying, isn't Plant like 31 also?
No.
Yeah,
Plant 25.
Is he only 25?
Caleb Plant? Yeah.
Regardless,
So,
he's like 15 fights anyway.
He hasn't fought in a while. It might be 26. The last time he fought, he was 25.
Regardless, he also has like 15 fights too, and he like just picked up a belt. I mean, we had the World Boxing Super Series happen 3 years ago. That started.
Oh, he's 28 now. Okay, he's 28 now.
PSK saying Rocky Fielding beat John Ryder. And what does that mean? Nothing. Rocky Fielding beat a guy that almost beat Callum Smith. That shows that they all kind of suck. Then that's not an evidence or a piece of argument that you can use to explain that Callum Smith is good. Actually, it shows that they're all maybe not that great, and they're all kind of on the same level. Then, at least the opponents that Callum Smith has fought. Come on. Cheeto fights, and I thought of Canelo as a decisionator. I don't know about that. That Canelo has a perception of being a guy that just gets decisions. I don't think that's true per se. I think he has a perception of getting the benefit of the doubt in decisions for sure.
Guys, at the highest level, most fights are going to go the distance. Right? I mean, there's a handful of people knock everyone out. Right? I mean, but like even knockout like Pacquiao, most of his big fights went the distance. Right? Like I guess he knocked Cotto out in the 12th round, but like he went the distance. He went the distance with Marquez 4 times. Right? He went the distance with Morales in their first fight. You know, he went the distance with Mayweather and Clottey and Margarito and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. All right? Like at that level, most fights are going to go the distance.
Yeah. What the fuck? Okay, I hate BoxRec so much. It's now telling me to select all the squares with tractors in them.
I don't understand why they're so secure. Like, there's nothing you can do. It's not like you can log in and change the information, right? Like, you're you. Are there lots of people pretending they're Matt Hunter trying to look at boxing matches from years past?
Tractors?
I don't understand why they're so secure. It's like it's like your credit report or your bank account or something. We got to make sure you're you. We can't have people not you looking at information that anyone can find online. It's like, I don't understand why they're so secure. It doesn't make any sense. Like, what if you went to ESPN.com and every time you want to look at a box score, they made you put in your personal information and pick out the tractors? Like, why? There's nothing personal. There's nothing private I can obtain here.
Shout out to the tractors.
I just don't want to, and they do it all the time, and I don't know why. Password, I've changed it so many times because they don't let you use the same one. You got to change it. I got to like reset my password every time I go into BoxRec.
Gary, you know you've obviously seen the movie Lethal Weapon, right? Or the movies Lethal Weapons, right?
Of course.
You know, like how Joe Pesci has like a rant in every one of the movies about like they're fucking you, like it's the drive-through, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Anytime you start ranting, it reminds me of the Joe Pesci they're fucking at the drive-through rant, and it's so good. Oh, memories, they just come flooding back. So good. For those who don't know what I'm saying, just type in on like YouTube. I'm assuming there's a clips on YouTube of like Joe Pesci, Lethal Weapon. They fuck you at the drive-through, and it is just vintage Joe Pesci ranting. So good, fantastic. Digressing though back to Canelo Alvarez and Callum Smith. There's not much on this card though to really talk about, is there? Like in terms of the undercard, Gary. Like this is probably
it's all prospects, right? I get my two undercards messed up because there's the Triple G fight. That's Ryder fights. John Ryder fights on the Triple G card.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a decent undercard.
And then Ali Akhmadov fights on that card.
Yeah.
Okay, and then this is all prospects, right? This is the one with
Alex Espino.
Admiral Williams fights on this. Raymond Ford.
Raymond Ford, Austin Williams.
Raymond Ford fights my boy, the Fort Worth Wolf, Tony Lopez.
Mark Castro's making his debut.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. You know me. I love when we get off tangents. Rubisk in the chat. Lethal Weapon 2 might be better than Lethal Weapon 1. What do you think, Matt or Gary? Okay, this is a serious discussion here because for those that are true Lethal Weapon heads, we know that there's a distinct divide after Lethal Weapon 1. Lethal Weapon 1 is kind of like a very serious movie in a way. Like its tone is different. It's also a Christmas movie. Just want to point that out. Just like Die Hard's a Christmas movie. It's just fact. Sorry. Lethal Weapon 2 though is like more 80s like funny in a way. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying here.
I do.
And it gets even more like that. Like Lethal Weapon 3 and 4 progressively get more slapsticky in a way. So they're just different movies. I like Lethal Weapon 2. I think it's probably a more enjoyable, fun movie for what it is. It's an hour and a half, but just more fun. Lethal Weapon 1, though, is a serious, like, cop movie, if you can, like, drama movie. Like, it's a serious movie in a way that the other ones just aren't.
You're right, because I like all the other ones better than the original Lethal Weapon. I know that sounds weird, but I do. Right? Like, that's probably why.
My parents love the third one the most. With, what's her name comes into it, the actress.
So, when you... Do you not like Lethal Weapon 3? Because I've heard other people say that before. Do you not like the third Lethal Weapon?
No, I like them. I like all the Lethal Weapons. I want to get that clear here for anyone that wants to debate me on this. I love all the Lethal Weapon movies. However, I don't think the other ones are as good as the first one. The first one, to me, I can go back. Rene Russo, thank you. Sufi in the chat, thank you.
I was like, I got to look it up now.
And she was a babe back then too, absolutely. But I just like the first one more. I think it's just to me, it's more of a legitimate film. And I know that's like kind of a snobby viewpoint, but like it's more of a complete film. It's more of a complete narrative. There's better character development, better writing, better acting in it. Like I just thought it was just a better movie. The other ones are funnier. They're more enjoyable. Like if you just want an 80s style movie, like I would watch the sequels more. If I want a serious cop thriller, I'm gonna watch the first one. And hold on, Richard Carey, excellent movie. LOL. Die Hard, yes. Lethal Weapon, no. The initial scene in Lethal Weapon 1 is the chick committing suicide when there's Christmas lights all around her. Like that is the setting of the movie that it starts off with the women, like that chick jumping off the hotel building or whatever when there's a Christmas tree in her apartment or something. It's absolutely a Christmas movie. I'm sorry. I will fight anyone on that. Sorry. I had to get on that tangent.
And of the Die Hards, Die Hard 3 is the best one?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Die Hard 3 is clearly the better Die Hard movie of all of them. First off, Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
I almost don't need, like, I shouldn't have to, like, say anything else. That should be enough. But it's not. Jeremy fucking Irons. Okay?
Getting Samuel L. Jackson's like the Golden State Warriors when they already had Steph and Clay. Like, let's get Kevin Durant, too. Let's do that.
Like, Alan Rickman, rest in peace. I love Alan Rickman to death. Like, first off, Galaxy Quest, one of the most underrated movies of all time. And obviously, I mean, Robin Hood, Harry Potter. Like, Alan Rickman's fantastic. But Jeremy Irons is Jeremy Irons is special. Like, he's almost in, like, the John Malkovich, William Dafoe, like, level. Like, he's just going to play Jeremy Irons. And I am enthralled by it. It is the most entertaining villain ever. And he somehow is better than Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber. Yes, I can say that. And it's also, I think, for me, I enjoy the movie. It's more of a thrill ride because like there is a actual like movement to the movie. Like they're going places, they're traveling. Movies that are stuck in one locale, while they can really achieve something doing that, it does, for me personally, it feels like a slow movie, a slow burn naturally because they're in the same spot. Think of like Hateful Eight by Tarantino. Love that movie, but they're in one building the whole time. Like It's not as good as, let's say, Pulp Fiction, where you can go. There's tons of different locales. You can really see the whole city. Like, you get more of an environment, a setting. There's just something to that. Like Reservoir Dogs, I think, has that same issue. Like, it's in one place the whole time, except for the diner scene. And I think that hurts it a little bit. Like, we don't see enough of the heist. I think we need to see more of the heist in Reservoir Dogs for that to be a complete movie. But separate discussion. Die Hard 3, absolutely the best Die Hard of the series. And I will say this as another controversial opinion. I think it's Die Hard 4 with Timothy Olyphant as like the cyber war one. The director's cut, where it's rated R instead of PG-13, because the theatrical cut was PG-13, which is a crime against humanity. But the director's cut, actually decent. Not a bad movie. And better than number 2.
Oh, wow. 2 gets a lot of hate. I mean, it's all right. It's okay.
It is all right. But Die Hard 4, the director's cut, so it's rated R. You get all the blood, all the cursing. It's Die Hard. Is actually pretty good. And surprisingly how intelligent that movie is.
They were all rated R, and then the 4th one they made was PG-13?
The 4th, and then I think in the 5th one they went back to rated R, but no one cared.
Yeah, it was already killed at that point. You already tarnished the legacy with the 4th one.
And the 4th one was like in Russia, and it was like about his son, and it was just stupid. And plus, like, I'll be honest, like, action stars, if you're too old, you should not be doing action movies anymore. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
That I agree with, absolutely.
Like, I'll be honest, this might be a little bit blasphemous as well. I have still not seen The Irishman.
I haven't tried either.
Because I saw clips online of Robert De Niro, and like, he looks like an old man acting right now. I cannot watch 3 hours of that. That's going to break my heart.
He's mid-70s. How old is Robert De Niro at this point? 75?
At least.
Yeah.
The dude's been acting since what, the 70s?
Yeah, at least, yeah.
So I was like, I just don't want to see old guys trying to like put on their prime again. Anyways, digressing. Sorry to get on that tangent. I thought it was just
77. He's 77.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised he's only that young. I thought he was like for sure in his 80s. Moving on, I'm just going to sort of round up some of the international fights that we are probably not going to get on US or UK TV. But Tim Tszyu is fighting tomorrow on Australian TV, obviously. And Luke Jackson's on the card. Paul Fleming's on the card. Mark Hunt. Oh, Mark Hunt? No way. Mark Hunt, long-time MMA fighter, kickboxing legend. He's boxed on this card at like 45 years old. I'll watch it just for that. Fuck. Sorry. I'm a degenerate. Also, Thursday, Charles Conwell's fighting on NBC Sports Network against Madahar Ashkayev.
Charles Conwell's really good. That's got to keep your eye on. He's a really good prospect.
He's one of those guys at 154 that doesn't get a lot of attention, but he should, especially since it's a division where there's not a lot of name value. So like a lot of these like unnamed prospects should be getting attention because there's no one to like hog up the spotlight. It's what, Laura and the Charlos? Come on. Like, sorry. And obviously on Friday, a much bigger card that we can talk about, Gennady Golovkin versus his mandatory Kamel Zemarata. Also, Ali Akhmedov, John Ryder's on the card. Rashad Maddy's on the card. Jalen Walker. Gary, your thoughts on Triple G?
I think Triple G's going to win, and he's going to knock him out, but I think he's going to be losing when he does. I think Smarta is I went back and watched him because the only fight I remember ever seeing him in was the one on the Triple G undercard when he fought his grandmother, right? When he fought some guy who was so overmatched. This guy's pretty good. He's a quicker fighter. He's a better athlete in the ring. He's not that good. He's not that bad though. Like, I think Triple G is on a total decline. It's been another year off since he fought the Andre Rozier fighter. Who was Triple G's last fight against?
Who was the last fight?
It was the one where he lost.
Oh no. Well, Derevchenko.
Right. Okay.
And then you have Steve Roll.
Off since then. So I think Triple G is on a total decline. So it's not that I think Samar is that good. It's just that I think he's pretty good, and I think Triple G is declining at breakneck speeds.
Zemarata
to win by, I'll say, 9th round knockout.
I'm gonna pick Triple G to win by 10th or 11th round knockout. Zemarata is a guy that's 21-0. Now, the 21 fights against literally no one of note, he has only had 5 knockouts in those 21 wins.
He's not a puncher.
Not a puncher. And I've only seen him in one fight, to be honest. I wasn't that impressed. I didn't see this like great athlete that Gary saw.
I didn't say he was a great athlete. I said he's a better athlete and he's quicker than Triple G.
I don't even know if that's the case. Like I know Triple G isn't the greatest athlete in the world, but fuck, man, like that's just rude. To pick Zimmerata as the better athlete, I feel like that's hard.
Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney in there. That is not what I said. All right, so
I know. I just to say that Zimmerata is a better athlete than Triple G, I don't know if that's the case at all. Cheeto Fight saying not much MMA and mixed combat. I know I don't do a lot of MMA content, but I was on Anthony Walker, Jay Petrie, and Benjamin Duffy's show, Unleashed, and that should be coming out today at some point. It might be already out on the Walkout Network, and we obviously talked about the UFC card this last weekend and the one coming up this weekend. So if you want to get any MMA content from me, check out that video at the Walkout Network. I believe the link to that channel is at our homepage on YouTube. If you want to check it out, Cheeto Fight, recommend it, and recommend that channel too. I'm good friends with the show, so always recommend Anthony Walker stuff. But digressing, Triple G. What can we say about him that's not already been said? It does feel like his time in the sun is gone. The narrative from his trainer that he's about to have another decade of like a career renaissance ahead of him is just hopeful thinking in like the worst way possible. Because I know that they're trying to get him a big fight. They're trying to get him a cash-out fight. And he's going to get brutalized in that cash-out fight. Whether it's Canelo, whether it's Charlo, whether it's, I don't even know who else. Like, could we even mention this discussion as a cash-out fight? I don't even think Charlo really belongs in that discussion. Where does Triple G go from here? I think he beats this level of opponents, but it's Zimmerata. He's a guy that
if he doesn't. Maybe Jacobs again at 68. But I'm saying maybe Triple G doesn't win. If he does, he'll just get a decision anyway because he's got that. And if he loses, he'll just get a decision anyway, like he did against Jacobs and Derevchenko. So I guess he really can't lose as long as he fights for 12 rounds because he'll just give him the decision anyway.
If I'm Triple G, after this, I only care about the Canelo fight. If I don't get the Canelo fight, I don't fight.
A lot of money leaving on the table, though. I know they renegotiated his contract, and I don't know what it is. But do you really want to leave that kind of money? I mean, I don't care. I mean, I probably would, but it's hard for me to tell someone else to do that, right?
But here's the reality, okay? Let's say Triple G goes and fights like Andrade after this and loses. The zone cuts that contract instantly, right?
Yeah.
So, that's probably an internal discussion they're having in their team. If you're Triple G, you're thinking, after this fight, what are my options? If I lose to this guy, these other options are no longer on the table. I could lose this network deal. A lot could happen. So, if I'm Triple G, if I'm Triple G, I angle it as I am doing a hunger strike on the sport of boxing. I'm not gonna box until I get Canelo. That's the only right fight for me. I'm not gonna partake in this sport. I'm not gonna give you guys any entertainment, any value of my labor until I get Canelo. And angle it that way. Make it a PR stunt almost. Because you almost have to do that to get Canelo, right?
Yeah, I guess I just don't think that's gonna work for him because Canelo isn't. I don't think Canelo has much interest in fighting him. I don't think Canelo likes him, and I think he's done with that. But
dude, hold on. Speaking of that, did you see what Triple G said about Oscar?
No.
Oh, so we know that Oscar called out Triple G, and I think even DAZN talked about Oscar versus Triple G at some point. Triple G was interviewed by Kevin Iole. I think it was Kevin Iole because it was Yahoo Sports. I'm assuming it's Kevin Iole because he's the only boxing guy at Yahoo. And verbatim, he said, hold on, I want to get the quote. Let me get the quote. It's so good. Basically said to the effect that I don't look to kill people, but if that was available to me, I would totally look to kill Oscar De La Hoya.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was
Wow. What is that about?
dark, man. It was so dark.
Does he think Oscar rigged the scorecards or something in the Canelo fight? Well, what is that? Wow. I mean, that's a lot.
Okay, yeah. It was published 3 hours ago. It doesn't give an author to the article. That's weird. Quote from Golovkin. This is from De La Hoya. You know how easy Triple G would be for me? Oh my gosh. I always took a good shot. Always took apart fighters like him. In my mind, it would be that easy. End quote. But Golovkin, who is preparing for mandatory defense of his title against Poland's unbeaten Kamil Zimmerada in Florida on Friday, brushed off De La Hoya's trash talk. Quote, you know, Oscar, you know how dirty his mouth is? Everything involving Gennady Golovkin for him is a nightmare. He can say whatever, but let me put it this way. If I got an opportunity to legally kill a person in the ring, I might seize it.
He said this in his native language, right? He didn't say this
It was translated by his translator to the media at a looks like a workout.
Just like, where does that come from? I've never heard Triple G say anything remotely similar to that.
Dude, if I got an opportunity to legally kill a person in the ring, I might seize it. First off, out of everyone that got really upset at Deontay Wilder for all of his body bag talk, get on Triple G for what he says here, because I think it's even maybe worse than what Deontay Wilder said.
It is because it's directed at a person.
Like a specific person, and he...
Like, it's if I say I'm going to kill someone, I'm going to kill someone. It's like, okay, that's an empty threat kind of. If I say I'm going to kill that guy right there because he's done me wrong, it's like, that's a step more serious.
So, I don't think it's going to happen, but just want to see, equal reaction from the fans, even though that's impossible to see. But goddamn, Triple G going dark. I love it.
So unexpected.
If he paints his hair black and gets like the emo cut, oh man, I'm all for it. I'm all for wear like a cape too, like a black cape. Be a villain. Just be a villain.
Not like Mike Tyson came out against Spinks. No rope, no nothing. Just run out to the ring and not even background music. Just like the sound of like clanging metal. Just come out and then just hit. Well, he's not fighting De La Hoya, but he should fight De La Hoya and do that. Right? Like, because I feel like De La Hoya is actually serious and he thinks he can beat Triple G, even though he's 50-some years old. Yeah. I honestly believe he thinks that. I don't want to see it happen, but if it happens, it happens.
Yeah. Cheeto fight in the chat saying who would sanction Triple G versus Oscar, Florida, Texas? Any of
them, yeah.
Any of them. Even like Nevada, I think would.
Absolutely. They had Canelo, Mayweather versus the wrestler, McGregor.
The wrestler.
Whatever.
I know that like Nevada didn't sanction Triple G Munguia because that fight didn't make them money.
But Mayweather versus McGregor, that's fine. No, that's good.
Yes.
The guy who had 49 professional fights against the guy who's had 0 professional fights in a 12-rounder. Try to get Nevada to sponsor a guy. Have him on a guy who's had 0 fights for a 6-rounder. They'll say no. They had a guy do 12 rounds who had no fights.
But Gary, MMA angles, Gary, come on. He could have knocked out
12 rounds. How long is an MMA fight if it goes to distance? 15 minutes?
25 minutes.
It's 8 rounds, roughly. Okay. They're 5-minute rounds?
Yes.
Okay.
For non-title fights, it's 15 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, what were we talking about? Oh, Triple G. Yeah. I have no other thoughts on Triple G. I think he's going to win this fight, but what's next for him, God knows what. I don't see really any avenue for him that's successful other than
John Ryder.
But you want him to fight John Ryder?
I'm just saying, like, that's what...
I picked John Ryder to win.
At 168, yeah, probably. Does he say at 160? All the fights I see him taking: Billy Joe, Danny Jacobs, John Ryder. They're all at 168 at this point.
Charlo is still a fight that I would want, but
Me too, especially at this point. I had Charlo
and
destroyed.
maybe with the pay-per-view distribution they have now, you can do it.
Yeah.
Maybe because otherwise it's Charlo or Andrade, and I do not think Triple G fights Andrade. He presents nothing to him, and in fact, because it's an in-house fight, it probably sort of devalues the fight because there's no like negotiation process, like true leverage between different promoters there. So that's probably a factor too. Moving on, unless you have any other thoughts about that card. Okay. Showtime on Saturday. Emmanuel Rodriguez is fighting Ramat Gaballo. Obviously, it was supposed to be Nordino Bali versus Nonito Donaire. Then it became Donaire versus Rodriguez. And then it became Rodriguez versus Gaballo. Really unfortunate how much this card has been affected by COVID and just issues, but it clearly has, and it's clearly been affected. I will say that the other two fights on the card of note, or say three other fights of note, are far more intriguing. Jared Enos versus Chris Van Heerden is an all right fight. It's not the fight that I wanted. It was supposed to be Jared Enos versus Thomas Delorme.
Yep.
Delorme, I think, got pot for COVID, unfortunately. So we got Chris Van Heerden, which isn't a bad substitute. I will say that. It could have been far worse. Gary Antonio Russell, obviously the brother of Gary Russell, is fighting Juan Carlos Piano. I really like that fight, to be honest. It's a huge step up for Gary Antonio Russell. And Brandon Lee is fighting on the card, though not against a really known opponent. I do like seeing Brandon Lee fight, though. He's one of those prospects that rarely is under the table, kind of as he should be. I don't think he's the greatest prospect, but he's still talented enough to where I'm intrigued by what he can do.
Brandon Lee's good. Again, I don't know that he's going to be a world champ or anything like that, but Brandon Lee's good. Nonito Donaire tested positive for COVID, and he's tested negative 3 times since. He's on a crusade to let him fight, and there is a false positive rate. If you're willing to pay for 3 tests in a row that all say you're negative, why won't they let him fight?
It might be just a liability issue.
He's really he's been on posting it on Twitter, look, guys, let me fight. I feel bad for the guy because, he was supposed to fight Ubali. That fell apart. So then he's fighting Manuel Rodriguez. And now he's out of the fight. And he just wants to fight. And, he's taken 4 tests now. The last 3 in a row said he's not positive for COVID.
There are 2 factors to that I don't know, which means I cannot make a real determination on that. One, were the retest that he took different than the official test he took through the network/promotion?
The last 2 were. The first one, they take 2 tests, right? And if you fail the first one, they can test the second one. The second one he took, which not top rank, PBC, whatever, so they weren't interested in looking at, right? Because they already had a positive, was tested, and that said he was negative. And then he took 2 more on his own that said he was negative in both ones. So the first one would be the one that they gave him, and then the next 2 he paid for, that he did himself.
2, I would not have paid for them on my own. I would have done it through official channels. Yeah. So therefore, it's more of an argument because now if you're let's say you're either PBC, the commission, or the network, or all 3, right? And you had an official test done with him that you conducted yourself, that you paid for, and he popped, and he went and paid for his own tests. Well, those aren't our tests. Those aren't under our peer review, so to speak. It's still a liability to have you on this card to potentially infect other people. We're just not going to deal with that liability right now.
From what it seems like, they weren't going to go that route. Once they saw that he had failed the 1 test, that was it. They were done with them. It was, you know what I'm saying? It was a non-issue. You're not fighting.
I understand that, and I to be honest, I think I'm okay with that. If I was Nonito Donaire, I would have gone and privately, because I don't think publicly would have done this. It would have helped. Privately gone out him and asked for a stipend because you're not fighting. That's what I would have done, to be honest. Ask for 10% of your paycheck or 20% of your paycheck, whatever, get you over through the holidays, and then fight first quarter next year because you're not going to be on the card. I think that's that's the safer route, to be honest, right? Because let's say Donaire was allowed to go on, and he paid for the test, and he's allowed to go on the card. Then all of a sudden we hear in the bubble 3 fighters get popped or their camps get popped for COVID, and we can't truly trace it back to Donaire. But now that happened, like it's just a liability and a risk that I don't think any big time promotional network really wants to deal with, because you can manage one fight falling off. If that sort of infected fighter infects your whole card, much bigger issue to deal with than just one fight you have to deal with.
When Pacquiao fought Matisse, remember that fight? Yeah. What was that on? What it was on pay-per-view of some sort, right? I remember paying for it, right?
Was it?
I think so. It was Manny Pacquiao Promotions or something like that. And there was a fighter on the undercard, early in the undercard, who they told him he tested positive for HIV. I don't mean to laugh. I don't mean to laugh. Then, like, they called him back.
Why don't I remember that?
And they called him back to my brow. They're like, "Oh no, wrong sample. You're good." Can you imagine those 24 hours? So it's like, first he was married, now he's gonna go home and tell his wife, and his wife like, "Well, how did you get this?" Right? You know. I don't mean to let me. It's not funny. I can imagine if it happened to me. It was an honest mix-up. Like they called the wrong person.
I vaguely remember that now that you mentioned the whole mix-up. I do remember that now. I don't remember who it was. I don't know like what fight that was about though.
It was real early in the undercard. Like it was a fight I'd never heard of before.
By the way, that was ESPN Plus.
Was it on ESPN Plus? Okay.
Yeah. You had to pay for it. It's $5, but it wasn't pay-per-view. Moving on, unless let's see anything else on this card of note. No, I will say this: if I could have picked the second Thomas Delarme dropped out, I would have made Jared Enos versus Brandon Lee. I know like promoters and networks would never do that.
Yeah,
but that's what I would have done. I would have loved to see that matchup instead of.
I like Brandon Lee, but you're throwing him. That's again, I'm all for it, but that's not right to Brandon Lee. As a prospect they have hopes for, don't throw him in with Jared Enos today. He'll get destroyed. Destroy his whole career.
I don't know about destroy his whole career, man. That's a bit harsh.
If you think he's a real bad beating at this stage of his career, he may not bounce back.
I don't think he takes a real bad beating, though.
He could. Enos is good.
Enos is good, but I don't think Enos is a Vergil Ortiz.
No, but no one is.
But no one is. That is true. That is true. A couple other fights on the weekend that we won't get here in the U.S. Makabu versus Dawadala is happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo for the WBC Cruiserweight title. And on Sunday, Mariti Methalan is defending his IBF flyweight title on like I said, Sunday in South Africa. So crack streams or First Row Sports for all those international events if you guys want to watch them. Gary, that is it for the fights this weekend. Any other thoughts on the fights, whether it be last weekend or this weekend?
No, I think we did a good job covering those.
Let's talk about, I mean, honestly, probably the only big news that came out this weekend or today is the Boxing Hall of Fame. Floyd Mayweather, Vladimir Klitschko, and Andre Ward got in, as well as Layla Ali and Ann Wolfe. Margaret Goodman also got in as obviously a non-participant. And trainer Freddie Brown, obviously a posthumous honor received to him. And Jackie McCoy. Two names, though, that were newly available to be voted on that did not get in were Miguel Cotto and James Toney. Gary, how the hell did Andre Ward get in before Miguel Cotto and James Toney?
Well, James Toney fell short for other reasons, I would think, right? Non-boxing related reasons like steroids.
Yeah, but it's never explicitly stated.
Yeah, because like you don't have to explain your vote. You just vote, right? And you're allowed to pick 5 names on the ballot. Like, obviously, James Toney's a Hall of Fame worthy fighter, but same thing like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens aren't in the Baseball Hall of Fame. It has nothing to do with baseball. It has to do with steroids, right? My guess is that's why James Toney didn't get in. Miguel Cotto, rough year. Look at the names that got in. You know what I'm saying? He needed to get 80% of the vote. He didn't get it because he can only pick 5 names on the whole ballot. You know, Cotto will get in next year. He'll get in. He'll get in next year. He just didn't. It didn't happen this year, but he'll get in.
Let me see the full list too.
I don't know. If they didn't vote for him this time, then, I mean, he didn't get in. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't. Tony, and outside of obviously his career as a boxer makes him a first ballot Hall of Famer, no question about it. But they don't want to put him in because he failed 100 steroid tests. They're not going to vote for him, and I don't think that's ever going to change.
Gary, by chance, can you find anywhere where you have like the full list of available fighters, not the ones that got in, of course, but the ones that the total list that people did not get in? And for those listening, if you have a good link or a good site to go to, let me know. I want to debate this a little bit more, but I feel like obviously to debate it, I need to see the full list, not just 5 names in total. Because you can, like you said, Gary, you can only pick 5 names, and the only names that are really listed are 5 names. I want to see the full list. Like, who else was? Do you know anyone else that was on the ballot?
I'm looking for it.
Santiago, I'm assuming you might have a site too.
Okay, I got it. Here, you got to scroll down a little bit. You want me just to read it off, or do you want me to send it to you?
How about you just share this? Oh no, send it to me. Send it to me. You can do the private chat if you want to.
Okay.
On StreamYard.
You got it. It's from the Syracuse local newspaper. Okay. There you go. You check the private chat. It's in there.
Got it. Okay. I was going to click on that link too, but I didn't because I was like, it's local news. Okay. Actually, it's not local. It's Boxing Junkie. It's a legit website.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And Michael Rosenthal's, legit, so to speak. Okay. The total list of the candidates for the class of 2021: Miguel Cotto, Vladimir Klitschko, Floyd Mayweather, James Toney, Andre Ward, Tim Bradley, Diego Corrales, and Rafael Marquez. I mean, Gary, if you're picking 5 names out of that bunch, who's the 5 names you pick?
So this is tough for me, right? Because you see this. Okay, you have
There's other names too. Jorge Arce, Paulie Alea, Nigel Benn, Voyana Bungu, Yori.
He was good. So, look, Timothy Bradley to me is a Hall of Famer. Ivan Calderon. I would vote for Ivan Calderon just because he needs to tough. Eubank needs to be in the Hall of Fame. So there's 2. I'm just voting because they need to be in. I mean, it's tough. And then I guess those other 3 names, the 3 that got in. Like, I don't know if I can only pick 5. And then Meldrick Taylor is on this list. No, James Toney has to have a vote. Okay, so take Eubank off and put Toney in. I would pick Toney. I wouldn't pick Cotto on my list either at 5. Not that next year he'll get in. But on this one, if I got to pick 5, I'm taking Ward, Klitschko, Mayweather, James Toney, and Ivan Calderon. This is tough, man. This is a tough list.
God, poor Diego Corrales.
Chris John's not going to get in, but like he has an argument. Rafael Marquez. I mean, these are guys who have an argument.
Some of the locks. Floyd Mayweather, lock.
Yeah.
Klitschko, lock.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, that's the 2. Who else would be a lock, would you say? Like, you cannot argue.
I would say Ward is a lock. And I would say Cotto is too, but Cotto didn't get in. I would say those are the 4 locks that have to be in. Right? And then Bradley is not a lock, but he's close to a lock.
If you put Klitschko, Mayweather, Cotto, Ward, and Calderon, I'll be okay with that 5. Or like put Izzy Vasquez on that 5 too. I'm okay with that. And from a personal perspective, Diego Corrales, because Diego Corrales is one of my favorite fighters growing up.
I love Diego. We all love Diego Corrales, right? Like
He's
everyone.
not getting in, but like I'm just stating.
Like Gianfranco Rossi is on the list. Okay, he's not getting in. I couldn't even vote for him. I'd want to vote for him because I don't know if there's any actual like who's the last Italian to be in.
Oh, I don't know.
Not Italian American, like actual Italian to be in.
Rocky Balboa.
I said Italian American, but
Did he immigrate?
no, he was born in here. He was born here.
The fictional character you mean was born here? Yes.
Both of them. The fictional. Well, Sylvester Stallone is in the Hall of Fame, right? Rocky's not in the Hall. Stallone's in the Hall.
No, Rocky's in the Hall.
I gotta fact check that. You might be right.
It's
maybe.
not Sylvester. It's Rocky.
Rocky Balboa is in the Hall of Fame. Not
yes, a fictional character is in the Hall of Fame. It's not Sylvester. Oh, I gotta check that now. Hold on. Now I gotta figure that out. I'm sorry. This is more important, everyone. Rocky Balboa, Hall of Fame. Yeah, Rocky Balboa.
Okay.
Not Stallone.
Okay.
Now Stallone definitely gave the acceptance speech.
He shouldn't have.
If he gave it in character, I'm okay with it.
That's true. Yeah.
If he came in as Rocky into the speech, I'd never watched the speech.
He's got his fights with Drago and Clubber Lang.
Imagine they brought like all the actors in to like pretend to be themselves. Or to pretend to be the characters. That'd be so good. Like like when all like the veterans come up and like congratulate the guy for getting in. Like fuck yeah, I want Dolph Lundgren up there. And Mr. T, I want all of them up there. That'd be hilarious.
What do we have to do to get Rossi in? I mean, he doesn't have the resume. I can't even believe he's on the ballot. He lost most of his big fights. He beat Petway, but then he lost to Petway. He lost to Curry. I can't believe he's on the ballot still. What do we have to do to get him in?
I mean, hope that everyone else drops off.
Everyone else quits.
I mean, legitimately, like people like Izzy Vasquez, Meldrick Taylor, Antonio Tarver, even Chris Eubank, Carl Froch, Ricky Hatton. Like they all have
Hatton was the best 140 pounder, one of the best 140 pounders ever. He should be in.
Like
I'm not going to get on this ballot. I wouldn't vote for him on this ballot either. But he should.
All those guys have to get in first.
Yeah.
That's how I view it.
Right? Not getting. I can't believe. So like that was that period in the 80s and early 90s where it was him, and then the late Angelo Rotelli who died of COVID back like in April or whatever. Those are like the two guys that kind of put Italian boxing, made it relevant again for a while. Rossi was the better one, but Rotello was good too. So it'd be good to have him in the Hall of Fame. Not that he deserves it, because like you can't even make a sensible argument with those names. He doesn't even deserve to be on the list, honestly.
Santiago wants to correct me, and he says Sylvester Stallone's in the Hall of Fame, not Rocky. I don't know. What I just saw said that Rocky was in the Hall of Fame, not Sylvester Stallone. So I don't know, Santi. I don't know.
Should Gianfranco Rossi be in the Hall of Fame, Santi?
No, he shouldn't. It's okay. It's okay. It happens. It happens. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for today's show. Gary,
Santi, should Ivan Calderon, Iron Boy, should he be in the Hall of Fame?
He has a good argument. I think like the two guys that like for years now I feel like that haven't got in that but like should is Calderon and Vasquez, in my opinion. And
Genaro Hernandez. Genaro Hernandez has been in that ballot forever.
Was he even on this ballot? I didn't see his name.
Is on the ballot. I can't vote for him this time either, because like if I only get one vote between Calderon and Genaro Hernandez, Calderon dominated a weight class for years. That era of dominance, in my opinion, same reason I put Hatton in. The dominance of that weight class gets you in.
Yeah, I agree. Guys, hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'm Matthew Hunter. Follow me right there, link below in the description as well. Also, patreon.com/Trending Now Network if you want to support the channel in any financial way. Also, go to our other channel, Trending Now Network, and follow our other podcast, General Strike Podcast, and the documentary series I'm producing, History of Socialism. Anything else? Should be back on Sunday or Monday, if I have to predict when we will be back on for MCR, for Trending Now Network. I don't know if I'm going to do a show this week. I'm going to try. This can be a tough one. I got like my parents' birthdays this weekend. I got like shit going on, a lot happening. So hopefully I would do another show this week. I cannot confirm that. Gary, final thoughts.
We need to start a hashtag and a movement to get Gianfranco Rossi in the Hall of Fame and Ivan Calderon. Gianfranco Rossi does not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And Arturo Gatti was the last Italian to make the Hall of Fame. I forgot that he was in the Hall of Fame because he didn't deserve it either. So there's that Italian in the Hall of Fame. But I mean, Santi, did Santiago ever answer that question? Does Calderon deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Those are we need to start a push, a movement to get Ivan Calderon, Iron Boy, in the Hall of Fame. He deserves it. Find me all on social media, 3D Boxing blog, from Texas to the world. Thank you, and God bless.
And it was just published right now over on Walkout Network, Unleashed episode 65, featuring me with Anthony Walker, Benjamin Duffy, and Jay Petrie, talking about all things MMA. So if you guys want any MMA content, head over right now to the Walkout Network, because I was on their podcast, and that just dropped today. Guys, have a good one. Stay safe out there. Have a great evening, great day, great night, wherever you are in the world. And as always, fuck the police and free Palestine.
Do you think Dan Rafael ever saw Ivan Calderon fight? Probably never in his whole life, right?
Bye, guys.